Hey, I'm Chris Hoyd, the head of product at Vynyl. The Vynyl team got the privilege this year to speak at HIMSS, and we took that opportunity to highlight one of our longstanding clients. So I'm excited to share that conversation here, in which Sabrina Erlhoff and I talk about the incredible progress made on a digital diagnostic called TabCAT over the last several years. Thanks for watching. Please feel free to connect if you have any questions about this project or Vynyl's healthcare practice generally.
Sabrina, could you start by sort of setting the stage on why this is so important right now?
Yeah, so I think it goes without saying, but dementia is a public health crisis. It's only projected to get worse. In the next 20 years, the population of older adults with Alzheimer's disease, and only Alzheimer's disease, not including other dementias, is expected to double in the next 20 years. This is the same story for tons of countries, not only the United States, but tons of low to middle income countries as well. Dementia is catastrophic for families. It is the most costly health condition to have in the United States, more so than heart disease or cancer. It's expected to cost a family anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 per year of treatment. And Alzheimer's disease, I mean, you can live for 8 years, 10 years. And with all that being said, Alzheimer's disease, dementia, mild cognitive impairment are underdiagnosed. Probably about half of the people who are currently living in the United States with cognitive impairment actually don't carry a dementia diagnosis in their medical record. So it's underdiagnosed. We've actually spoken to a number of primary care providers who have said that they have practically no confidence in assessing cognitive impairment, in diagnosing cognitive impairment, and then providing the types of education and support beyond diagnosis that a patient would need. While there are tons of people working on identifying causes of dementia and, of course, exploring these disease-modifying therapies that are going to be so important for creating change, our lab at UCSF has decided to focus on detection of cognitive impairment. Early detection of the disease can help families prepare for care, prepare for making financial decisions, for safety planning in the home, and also identify candidates for these clinical trials that are producing disease-modifying therapies. So we think it's really important to focus on that early detection.
Awesome, thank you. And let's touch now on maybe a reason some of those physicians have such low confidence in diagnosing. What is the current state of diagnostic tools for Alzheimer's?
Yeah, so number one, the providers have no time virtually with the patients. And the gold standard tests that are out there, these paper and pencil based tests that you've probably heard of, the MOCA, the MMSE, the MiniCog, they are very poorly validated in diverse communities. They take a long time to administer, especially with people who have more severe forms of dementia or cognitive impairment. They require training to administer. It's really just not something that's applicable in a primary care workflow. Additionally, it takes time to score the tests, and then, the provider is doing all of this work before they can even provide the care, before they can even educate the patient on what's going on and interpret the results. Obviously, we're all here for a digital health innovation, right? And so we know that tablet-based testing is the way to go. Tablet testing is ideal for cognitive testing. It can facilitate easy and robust data capture. It's scalable. That's all great. And there are plenty of people who are innovating with these cognitive assessment tools using tablets and other digital solutions, but they're often very expensive to administer. They're often not backed by rigorous science. And also a lot of these tests are actually designed for a popular Alzheimer's disease memory impairment, where 40% of dementias actually are not caused by Alzheimer's disease, and even Alzheimer's disease has atypical variants that may present with executive dysfunction, I should say, language dysfunction, or visual spatial dysfunction. So we wanted to be able to capture the full spectrum of symptoms within the ADRD realm.
So things are not great, things have not been great for a while. So you and the team at UCSF identified this opportunity. Can you talk a little bit about sort of the origin story of TabCAT?
Yeah, so we knew that we needed to improve on these tests. We knew that we needed to create tests that were validated in diverse settings that didn't require or were biased on the level of education, level of literacy, familiarity with mainstream US culture, or even English. So we knew that we needed to approach this with fresh eyes. One of the ways that we did this was we paired up with the Global Brain Health Institute at UCSF to create the Cognitive Assessment in Diverse Populations Interest Group, where we learned tons of great insights about designing cognitive tests for diverse populations, for non-English speakers, for individuals with low levels of literacy. For example, one of the little nuggets that we learned in South Africa and some parts of South America, individuals are more disposed to value accuracy and careful deliberation in testing performance over speed. Unlike in the US, we're just like, go, go, go. And so we really needed to pause and think about how we were going to design tests that rely on reaction times to help these people. For example, do we even include a countdown timer on your test? Is it going to freak someone out, or is it going to help? So anyway, we knew that we needed to design better tests that are backed by, robust psychometrics. And we also needed something that providers would be able to integrate into their workflows easily, something that was ideally integrated directly into the EHR, that provided instantaneous results along with turnkey guidance that the providers can use. It's one thing to give a diagnosis and say this patient has cognitive impairment, but it's another to actually help the providers give the care following that. So we have partnered with tons of primary care physicians to talk to them about their workflows, how they approach care, how they talk to patients, to create really sophisticated scoring and reporting along with our tests.
So incredibly sort of clinically rigorous. The team at UCSF did not have the capacity to build the technology of it. So can you maybe tell us a little bit about what the decision process was like to find Vynyl and bring us on and give us the sort of privilege of helping build this with you?
Yeah. So we already have a great, brilliant team of neuropsychologists, of primary care providers. We can get those people in the room easily, which is really important. But we needed to be able to realize this dream from a technical standpoint. We're scientists. The leader of the TabCAT project has a PhD in neuropsychology. We're not technical people, but we really needed to find a partner who would be able to provide that level of expertise to us, but also value our researcher spirit in our approach. We're looking at this from a scientific point of view, not from a bottom line point of view. And we really, really valued our relationship with Vynyl because you guys do have that innovative spirit that we can continue to iterate over the years. We have released now 3 versions of TabCAT, just continuing to modernize the platform with you guys and along all of the steps that we've taken through clinical validation. It's been great.
Okay, I think that was the majority of the Vynyl plug. Thank you, Sabrina. Over the last several years, we've worked with several companies that have taken a less research-focused approach, and it's been really cool to see, some of the things you have learned over those few years. Maybe can you talk a little bit about all you have done and what you've, learned that's really opened your eyes to this?
Yeah, so I should probably back up and say TabCAT stands for Tablet-Based Cognitive Assessment Tool. So it houses all of these cognitive assessments and other research tools designed for both research and clinical settings. Within that, we have designed a battery of tests called the Brain Health Assessment, or TabCAT BHA for short. And this is our battery of tests that contains all of the spectrum of cognitive domains to test that can easily detect mild dementia and mild cognitive impairment in primary care settings. The entire test can be done in 10 minutes. And as I've mentioned, we've continued to iterate over the years. We are moving towards a self-administered approach now. So a self-administered version of the TabCAT BHA, which would allow a patient to really complete the test in a quiet waiting room and have results just instantaneously ready for the doctor. So Allowing us to realize that dream and implement the TabCAT BHA has allowed us to publish important research validation papers showing that the test is accurate at detecting mild cognitive impairment and mild dementia. It's almost perfect at detecting mild dementia, has very high accuracy in detecting mild cognitive impairment. It correlates well with brain regions affected, and of course that allows us to create a robust set of normative data that can then be used in clinical settings. Following that research, we've just exploded in our studies. We've looked at blood-based biomarkers led by Dr. Elena Tsoi. We've looked at correlations with tau PET imaging, beta amyloid, which are important proteins in the brain that contribute to Alzheimer's disease. We've found that the TabCAT BHA can effectively measure change over time, which is not possible with these paper and pencil tests that I mentioned before. Those tests have extreme floor and ceiling effects, which really doesn't allow you to follow the patient over time. And with these disease-modifying therapies on the horizon, it's really important that we're able to test change. Are these therapies working or not? And so we've really been able to explode in our validation. We also have continued to partner with the Global Brain Health Institute. It's become a network of clinical validation around the world. We're passionate about making this tool available to not only researchers and clinicians in the United States, but all over the world. So we've got clinical validation studies ongoing in Brazil, Peru, Colombia, Thailand, Uganda, Botswana, Greece, Egypt, Israel. I'm probably forgetting a few, but it's been really exciting because we've been able to learn so much from these experiences, continue to iterate on developing these tests, develop new tests that are applicable to all of these diverse communities.
Yeah, this has hands down been one of the most inspiring projects I've been close to in my career. And some pretty cool developments over the last 12, 18 months for TabCAT. Maybe we can take our last few minutes here and just kind of talk through what the latest launch was, and then maybe close with some partnership discussion.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we've really continued to iterate over the years. We started out with our infrastructure completely housed at UCSF, which was not scalable. And because we want to make this available to as many people as possible, we're actually able to refactor the entire platform with Vynyl to make it entirely cloud-based now. This is what we've been calling TabCAT 3.0. It's what we offer now to various researchers and clinicians around the world. So it's entirely cloud-based, which we've designed it to be HIPAA compliant. You can use it in a PHI-free version if you don't want logistical barriers to adapt this test for your own use. We have built a more modular and robust scoring system that allows users to customize batteries and tests. For example, if a primary care provider wanted a global assessment of cognition, perhaps they use the brain health assessment, or if they are a specialist in motor function, perhaps they only want to create a battery out of motor function tests. So this new version of TabCAT, we've really learned from our experience and have been looking forward to the future and making it really modular, scalable, and portable, which we're really excited about.
Awesome, thank you. So yeah, if anyone wants to talk in more detail about how we sort of technically did that, what the GraphQL layer looks like on top of Hasura, come find our booth. We'd be happy to talk in a little more detail on that. But so let's just close maybe with what's coming up for TabCAT. What's on the horizon? Yeah,
so of course we're a bunch of nerds. We're excited to continue doing research. We're excited to continue building normative data that's not based on traditional demographics, but instead based on social determinants of health, which I've seen that kind of popping around in various places around today, which is very exciting. So we've been able to continue our data collection, continue our research with various collaborators. We're looking forward to working with perioperative applications, so looking at maybe delirium in pre- and post-operative settings, looking at motor control in Huntington's disease, all very exciting stuff. And then most exciting of all, we're really excited to announce that we are launching a pragmatic cluster randomized trial with Kaiser Permanente Southern California starting in September. where we'll be implementing at 26 of their clinics, really looking at the efficacy of the TabCAT brain health assessment in their workflow. We're integrating with their instance of Epic and looking at all of these great EHR outcome measures that hopefully we'll find. We're just beyond excited. We did pilot this in a UCSF primary care clinic and found that diagnosis rates were increased by 40%, and that included 74%, I think, of Hispanic and Latino patients. So we are just so excited to not only introduce this as a clinical trial to discover effectiveness, but actually provide the care that we've been looking to deliver.
Thank you, Sabrina, so much for joining us up here. Like I said, we've got a booth 100 yards that way. We are giving out free vinyl records. So yeah, come stop by. Hope you guys have a great rest of the conference. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks for watching, and please feel free to connect if you have any questions about this project or Vynyl's healthcare practice generally.